Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome to another video. It's that time of the week again. For the final time this season, it's a Premier League predictions video. We've reached the end, people. It is the final game of the campaign, and the Premier League title will be lifted this weekend by Liverpool. We will say a final goodbye to the likes of Southampton, Leicester and Ipswich. And, of course, we will finally determine who is going to be playing in what form of European competition for next season between the likes of City, Newcastle, Chelsea, Aston Villa and, of course, Nottingham Forest. That is all set to be decided this weekend. And, of course, this is going to be the video where we're going to talk about the games, analyse them and, of course, try and predict the outcomes. Before we get into all of that, though, I would like to remind you all to please like the video and also subscribe if you are new. Both things will always and forever be greatly appreciated. And I also encourage you all to get involved in the comment section down below. Use that section, people, to give me your thoughts, comments, opinions, but most of all, of course, your predictions on how you think the final game of the Premier League season will go this weekend. Would love to hear from you all on this particular interest and topic of conversation. And without further ado, we're going to go into the conversation ourselves. For the final time this season, let's get into the predictions. And we're going to start with Bournemouth taking on Leicester. A meaningless game for both of these for both of these teams. Like I say, for Leicester, they are already confirmed. They are down. There is no need for them to overexert themselves. They have actually been in decent form, though. Since the pressure's been lifted, they've actually got a couple of decent results in recent weeks. And as for Bournemouth, look, the possibility of them getting ninth isn't out of the realms of possibility. But of course, it doesn't necessarily mean anything. It doesn't necessarily mean as much. It just means that you're slightly higher at the table. You may get a bit more money, but overall, I would imagine they're not going to probably take this game as seriously or play to the full capacity that we know that they can. They may want to put on a bit of a show for their Bournemouth supporters that have obviously supported them throughout the entirety of the season, with it being the last game at home. But otherwise, I'm going to say 2-1 to Bournemouth. I think they'll win this game. And like I say, put on a bit of a show for their home supporters. Next up, Fulham taking on Manchester City, and I've gone 2-0 to Manchester City. I think City are going to fully confirm their place in the Champions League for next season. That is the very, very small consolation prize for what has been a very disappointing and failure of a season as far as what Pep Guardiola is concerned. I'm going 2-0 to Manchester City. Again, for Fulham, the possibility for a higher finish is there, but they can only really leapfrog Bournemouth, who are in 9th. Otherwise, they are just playing for pride in front of their home supporters for the last game of the season. City have got the incentive. City have got more on the line here to win and secure their place in the Champions League for next season. Something which I am assuming and predicting that they are going to do comfortably. Next up, Ipswich take on West Ham. I've gone 1-1 for this one. I could see West Ham winning this one in all honesty, but again, it doesn't really matter. Both of these teams are on the beach. We say our final goodbyes to Ipswich, and I'm sure they'll want to go out on some sort of high, given the fact that they will probably want to repay their supporters for what has been a season in which was always going to be an uphill battle to survive in the Premier League. But of course, we know that they're going to be yo-yoing back down to the Championship. They'll probably want to give their supporters one last hurrah. Whilst West Ham, of course, want to continue their progression under Graham Potter. Hasn't exactly been the kind of greyhound out of a trap sort of start to life for Graham Potter at West Ham. But, you know, maybe things could change. Maybe a successful summer transfer window. Maybe a bit more of a grasp on what he's trying to do with this squad may, of course, help smooth things out at the London Stadium over the course of the summer. I'm going 1-1, but this one could really be any kind of result. So, looking forward to seeing what that one is. Next up, Liverpool against Crystal Palace at Anfield. The final game at Anfield this season. pitting together the Premier League title winners who will be lifting the Premier League trophy come full time, whichever the result goes, going up against the FA Cup winners, Crystal Palace. Ironically, a game that ends both of these clubs' seasons, but will also begin the start of the next season as well, as these two teams will obviously play each other in the Community Shield, which is going to be a very interesting battle. And this one's going to be a very interesting battle as well, because, again, Liverpool have been on the beach. They've very much been on the beach since winning the Premier League title. They've not overexerted themselves. They've not played to the fullest of their capacity, and that is why they've only managed to pick up 1 point from a possible 9 in their past 3 games since, of course, securing and officially winning the Premier League title. They're going up against the Crystal Palace side, who will still be flying from last week's FA Cup victory. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be very interesting to see how both of these teams face this one. I would imagine that Liverpool want to put on a show, final home game of the season, about to lift the Premier League title. The Reds have been in party mode for the past few weeks. I imagine that's going to be turned up a few extra notches when, of course, Virgil van Dijk does lift the Premier League title. You will, of course, 24 hours later, give or take, have the bus parade that is going to be going through the city of Liverpool. So it's going to be a very major party atmosphere, and I'm sure it's going to be a very exciting game, this one. And that's why I've gone with a goals galore type of game. That's why I've gone 3-3. There always seems to be one game at the end of a season in which is just a bizarre scoreline. I think last season there was I think Liverpool were involved again, or it was the season before. Last game of the season it finished 4-4 or something. There always seems to be a bit of a bizarre goals galore type of game. I think this one could be it, between two sides that have got nothing to play for. They're in party mode. They're still flying high off of their incredible achievements this season. I would suspect that this game could have a bit of a feel-good factor to it, a bit of a party atmosphere to it, a bit of an exciting game, this one, for everybody involved. So I'm going 3-3. Could be very interesting to see how this one plays out. Next up, Manchester United take on Aston Villa, and if Aston Villa need to keep their, want to keep their Champions League hopes of qualifying for that competition alive for next season, they're going to need to win this game and hope and pray that results elsewhere help them out in the meantime. And that's what I think will happen. I think coming off the back of that disappointing Europa League game, I know United are at home. They'll want to try and give their fans something to go into the summer with on a bit of a positive. I think Villa with the incentive, Villa with the form that they are in, Villa with the players, the quality, the talent, the ability. I think all of those things will combine and help Unai Emery's side over the finish line towards 3 points in this one. I'm hoping that Villa keep it alive, because I would love to see them get into the Champions League again for next season, and I would love to see one of, I'm hoping Chelsea mainly, or City, could be one of them, to fall out the Champions League. That just would be pretty funny. But obviously we'll have to see how the results go this weekend. I think Villa will push it to the limit. It's going to be interesting to see how this Champions League, Europa League, Europa Conference League battle plays itself out over the course of Sunday. But yes, I'm very much looking forward to this game as well. It's always a very good game when these two teams meet. And I know that Villa's record against Manchester United doesn't exactly make for great reading, but at the same time, I just think that coming off the back of that Europa League defeat, with Villa in form right now, with the incentive between their teeth, I think Villa will get the job done on Sunday. Next up, Newcastle against Everton. Speaking of clubs that have got Champions League ambitions for next season in mind, Newcastle have their destiny in their hands. A win here will definitely secure themselves Champions League football for the next campaign. And I think they will get it against an Everton side who, of course, are very difficult to beat on their day. They can be a very, very awkward side to play against. I just think, again, with the incentive being in Newcastle's favour, with the St James's Park crowd, I think Newcastle will scrape past this one. Might be a bit awkward. No Isak, of course, is going to be a big factor for them. They are obviously in danger of, if they lose this game, they probably will be knocked out of those Champions League places. So it's going to be a very intriguing battle, this one, but one that I think Newcastle will just about survive at the expense of David Moyes' side. Again, that's not to say that this is a foregone conclusion. We know that David Moyes' side can be very difficult to play against. We know that on the counter-attack they can be dangerous from set pieces. They are very physical and very dominant in that area. So they do have their points of attack and their weapons themselves. But, again, I just think the incentive, the home crowd, may just work in Newcastle's favour, and they will get across the finish line in this one. Next up, Southampton take on Arsenal. They've gone 3-1 to the Gunners. Again, a meaningless game. Southampton will want to just thank their fans for what has been a long and horrible season as far as what they're concerned. Wave goodbye to the Premier League, at least for the next season. And Arsenal, of course, just want to finish the season on a bit of a flourish. There's no jeopardy here. It would take a big goal difference swing for, I believe, Manchester City to get into second place ahead of them, and that would require Arsenal to lose heavily and for City to win heavily as well. So it's unlikely that that's going to happen, but of course Arsenal will probably want to finish off on a flourish. They are against a very favourable side in rock bottom Southampton. So I've gone 3-1 to the Gunners. I think they will concede probably a stupid goal, but then take control as the game wears on. Next up, the Europa League champions Tottenham are in action against Brighton, and I think that this is going to be a win to Brighton, 2-1. Now, that's not to say that, again, this is a foregone conclusion, but again, the Premier League Tottenham is so much different to the Europa League Tottenham that I just think that Brighton will likely get the result that they are wanting in this game. Simply for the reason that, of course, it will be a party atmosphere at the London Stadium. They'll probably parade the Europa League. They've probably got some sort of celebration in mind in front of their home supporters in their home stadium for the Europa League. The first trophy of that new stadium, and obviously since 2008, of course. So I imagine it's going to be a big party atmosphere for Spurs that might have the fans bouncing and radiating energy to the players. But when it comes to the football side of things, Brighton are a very technically gifted side. They're a very, very good side. Maybe the extra 90 minutes from Spurs midweek may also play its factor into this game. I know obviously they played a couple of days after Brighton, but that could still take its toll. And I just think Brighton overall will create better opportunities, better their chances. I'm now thinking maybe this could be a bit more of a higher scoring game, but I still think the result will still be the same. I still think the Seagulls will win this game, and this one is going to be very intriguing to, of course, watch unfold. And not only that as well, but Brighton are obviously in 8th place right now, and depending on how the Europa Conference League goes, depending on how the race for Champions League, Europa League and Europa Conference League goes, there could still be a possibility that 8th place qualifies for a European spot for next season. I think a lot would need to happen. I think Newcastle would need to drop as low as 7th, I believe. I think Newcastle would need to drop as low as 7th. Chelsea would need to drop in 6th and lose the Conference League, I believe. Feel like that's the case. Some sort of scenario like that anyway. So 8th place could still get you a European spot, which will be incredible for Fabian Hürzeler as the Brighton head coach, and of course for Brighton itself as a football club. So this still could have meaning to Brighton, and that is why I'm going to give them the victory in this game as my prediction. The penultimate game on this list will come from Molineux, where Brentford will travel to meet Wolves. Again, Brentford are in that kind of run-in for that 8th position as well. So there is a bit of incentive for the Bees to go on and win this game. For Wolves, no incentive whatsoever. They could make things difficult for Brentford. And maybe in actual reality, maybe I should have gone with a Brentford win. But I don't think there'll be too much riding on this game, in all honesty. And I think that this game will end as a draw. I'm hoping for goals galore to make it at least somewhat entertaining for the final game of the season. And finally, in what I believe to be the biggest game of this round of fixtures, the main event of this Sunday's round of Premier League action. We are live from the city of Nottingham, the city ground itself, for Nottingham Forest's clash with Chelsea in what may decide certain European places for this season. Going into this game, Nottingham Forest are in 7th. They are currently on 65 points. They are 1 point off of the likes of Aston Villa, Chelsea and Newcastle. A big result last weekend at the expense of West Ham means that Forest keep their dreams alive of Europa League or Champions League football for the next campaign. Chelsea, though, are obviously in that position. They are, of course, in the top 5 right now, and if things were to end today, they get Champions League football. But that's not obviously how things work out that way. Aston Villa this weekend take on Manchester United. Newcastle, as we've seen, take on Everton, and Manchester City take on Fulham. This is going to be a very intriguing battle right the way through the day, because a lot can change. City can fall as low as 6th. They could fall 7th, but it would require a 13-goal swing of a heavy defeat to City and a heavy victory for Forest, which is very unlikely. Newcastle could fall into 7th. Chelsea could fall into 7th. If Villa win and if Forest win, they could fall into 7th. A draw would obviously benefit Chelsea a little bit, but then of course they're having to rely on other fixtures again and hopefully not falling out of the top 5. There are a lot of different scenarios at play here which could make for very intriguing viewing the later we get into Sunday's fixtures. But as far as my prediction goes for this game, I have gone with a 2-1 Chelsea win. Now, last week I did a video on the top 5 situation and who would be obtaining what form of European competition to compete in for next season. And I basically said that I thought that Chelsea would fall out of the Champions League spots because I didn't see them beating Manchester United. It was nervy, it wasn't exactly the most convincing, but Chelsea managed to do so. Despite my prediction. In this game, I said that they would beat Nottingham Forest, so I'm actually keeping by that. I think they will beat Forest. As much as I want Forest to win, as much as I would like Forest to, of course, have an opportunity at playing Champions League football for next season, which would be absolutely incredible, which would be absolutely phenomenal. I'm hoping that I'm wrong. I'm hoping that Forest do go on and get the victory in this game. But I just think Chelsea will scrape through. I just have this sneaky feeling that Chelsea will scrape through by any means necessary. Even though, of course, we know that Chelsea going forward, especially against a defence as resolute and as solid as what Forest can be and has proven to be at times this season, will obviously prove to be difficult for both of these teams. I really hope Forest can pull the rabbit out of the hat here. I really, really do. But as it is, I just have a sneaky feeling that Chelsea will get the victory. They will secure themselves Champions League for next season. They will condemn Nottingham Forest to the Europa Conference League, and that is all she'll write on this season. And there you have it. Those are just the thoughts, comments, opinions, and predictions of this guy for the final time this season. Let me know what you guys are thinking and feeling down below in that comment section. Use and abuse that section, people, with your thoughts, your comments, opinions, but most of all, of course, your predictions on how you think all of Sunday's Premier League games will go. I'm sure what you have to say will make for great and interesting reading, so please do use and abuse that comment section, people, and talk to me on this particular topic. Otherwise, hit the like button on the way out if you enjoy the video. Subscribe if you are new or want to see more content like this. Both things are always and forever be greatly appreciated. And as always, thank you all so much for watching and listening. And thank you all for your continued or brand new support to the channel. It really does mean a lot to me, guys. So thank you, thank you, thank you. You guys are absolutely awesome. I cannot thank you enough. It will always be appreciated and never taken for granted. So thank you all so much. I've been Fletch. This has been another Fletch Talks video, and I will see you and speak to you all again soon in another video or live stream or whatever it may be. Cheers, guys. Thanks for watching. Take care. Enjoy the rest of your day. Speak to you all again very, very soon.